Hello, welcome to episode 161 of the Book Binge. We're doing another top 5 ranking list today, but this time covering a topic that I didn't necessarily think I would be covering. This is the top 5 westerns that I want to read. I didn't think that I would ever come across this many westerns that I actively wanted to read, enough to make a list of this sort. I guess there are a couple other westerns that I haven't included for this list, but after reading a little bit of McCarthy and a lot of those McCarthy books I've been reading recently having like a sort of southern, western gothic appeal, and like that being the kind of vibe that I'm just kind of feeling right now, I decided I wanted to cover some of the other westerns that maybe I want to give a shot. This is probably the worst of the lists I've made, but let's give it a go anyway. First off, we're going to talk about an honorable mention being, speaking of McCarthy, Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. This is probably going to be one of the last Cormac McCarthy books that I try to read, and one that I can't really say I'm actively excited for, because I'm definitely not. That book kind of scares me a little bit, but it is one that I'm going to eventually give a shot, probably in the near-ish future. Don't quote me on that, but we will see what happens. It is one that I'm kind of got on my bucket list now because I've got all of McCarthy's books on deck and I'm going to read through all of his novels and going to have them all done probably by the end of this year. But like I said, we will see. That's going to be one of the last ones that I do, and I am quite worried about it. But let's move on to the actual list itself and start off with the trilogy that I know absolutely nothing about, being The Light Sublime by C.S. Humble. The covers looked pretty interesting. A couple of my friends were talking about it at one point when the books went on sale, so I decided to pick them up because why the heck not? Let's add another western to the list of something that maybe I'll read at some point. Like I said, I know nothing about the trilogy, but it is one that I want to give a shot for no other reason than because the covers were cool and because friends were talking about it. I'm very easily influenced, in case you couldn't tell. Number 4 on this list is a horror western book, Red Rabbit by Alex Grecian. This one came as a recommendation to me from a friend, a fellow fan, big fan of Sun Eater. In fact, if you happen to see these kind of pins here sitting in between the books, that friend made those pins and sent them to me. So thank you, Orion, for that. And also thank you for the recommendation of Red Rabbit. I can't remember exactly what the blurb was that was given to me about the book, but it sounded very interesting when I read it. So, it sounded super fun. I was like, sure, horror western is a vibe that I totally jive with, so, I'm interested in the book. Number 3 is one that several friends have read and really enjoyed. That is Butcher's Crossing by John Williams. Another book that a lot of people recommend to me is Stoner by the same author, and no, it's not that John Williams, before you ask. This and Stoner both look really good. I actually own both of them, but this falls in the western genre, and I'm going to check this out at some point because it comes as a high recommendation from everybody who has read it, just like Stoner does. Number 2 on this list is another series that I gotta pick up just real quick for the Kindle, that I own all 7 books for on Kindle and on Audible, and that I'm probably going to do a sort of immersive reading thing with. That is going to be Train Noir by Rick Riordan. Rick Riordan is one of my favorite authors. I have a lot of nostalgia for him, and when I was younger, I always wanted to give Train Noir a try just because it was written by Riordan. So eventually there came a time where when all these books were pretty cheap and on sale, and when, all of them are in the Audible Plus catalog, I was like, sure, let's give these a shot at some point. I want to see what the fuss is about with the series of the, relatively few people who've read it compared to his, Percy Jackson universe type stuff that I really enjoy. I do want to give it a shot just because it is Riordan. But we come to the number 1 item on this list, one that I'm sure many of my friends will be very excited to see, and one that I regrettably don't have on the list at like a specific time that I'm going to try to read it, but I do want to get to this pretty soon. This is the reason I considered making the list, and what my friends and I lovingly refer to as the Cowboy Quartet by Larry McMurtry, of course, the Lonesome Dove Saga. And before anybody asks in the comments what order I want to read these in, no, I'm not going to read them by publication order. I don't really care. It seems wrong for whatever reason to read in the order of the third book, then the fourth book, and then the second book and the first book, I think might be the order. Maybe it goes Lonesome Dove, Streets of Laredo, Dead Man Walking, and then Comanche Moon. I'm not entirely sure, but like I don't plan to read it whatever the publication order is. I plan to read it in the chronological order. Almost all of my friends who've read the full saga did read it in chronological order, and all of those people say they can't really imagine reading it in a different order, so that is the way that I plan to read it. After so many of my friends have adored this series in full, and even, you know, all the other people who adore Lonesome Dove as a standalone book, I gotta get to this one. It is one that I really, really, really want to get to, and that I've been feeling the FOMO on pretty hard since they read it in like the summer of 2023. Maybe it was the summer of 2022 even. It was a while ago that they all read the series, and like I really want to get to it sooner than later. No clue when I'll be able to, but I seriously cannot wait to read the Lonesome Dove Saga, or the Cowboy Quartet as I like to refer to it. Is there any good Western material that isn't just Louis L'Amour that you think I should try? Shout those out in the comments below so that maybe I'll expand my Western TBR list beyond just these, you know, more obvious options to me. There are a couple more that I own, but like I don't know what those are or where they are off the top of my head, or they might fit into some other category that might appear on some other list in the future. Who knows? Those are the top 5 Westerns that I want to read. Let me know what yours are in the comments below, even if they are all the same as mine. Let me know what you want to give a shot in the future if you are interested in the Western genre. With that being said, next Tuesday I'll have a review coming out of Outer Dark by Cormac McCarthy. I'm pretty excited for people to see that review because Cormac McCarthy has been a relatively hit or miss author for me, so I'm excited to, you know, have more people know about where that book falls on the scale. With that being said, I'll get out of your face now. I'll be back in the next video regardless.